The microphone is on. Record.
Vinod sir, you are not audible.
Santoshi near left parent outside Ignu right parent joined. Samadhi Panjali left parent outside Ignu right parent joined. Upsita Sadhu has left the meeting. Sonali Mahala left parent outside Ignu right parent joined. Visitor in this call is the Vinota Mishra admission section. Jayaj RC Sonali Mapanita Lisa Mahat 6 others button classroom 430 classroom 2 Manita Badera 8 others classroom 430 separator heading level 1 constitute.
Is it audible now? Am I audible now?
Yes, audible boy.
Yes. Thank you.
You will just wait for 5 minutes, then you will start.
No problem. Let me change the back. Excellent. Take it. No, move it. I will work on it. Santosh, Moraji, Mo area the internet cable has gone down. So I come to the Sadanand Bagh's room and sitting there. That's why I changed the background.
on.
Control D, your microphone is on. A lot of people, the people list shows them all.
आगे सर. बसो. Respected resource person of the day, Professor Vinod Mishra, my colleague and regional director in charge, Dr. Santosh Panigrahi, my colleague, assistant director, Dr. Prabhat Kumar Jaina, my colleagues from the regional center, from study centers of Bhubaneswar region, and friends from other regional centers, my colleagues from various disciplines, divisions of the university, other participants, and my dearest learners. Very good evening to all of you. It's a great privilege on my part to congratulate all of us on, on the occasion of the Constitution Day today. After centuries and thousands of years of slavery, we got unified and got independence on 15th of August 1947. But that was not the end of the struggle. We went further to give to ourselves a written code of conduct, a written code of governance, that is the sacrosanct Constitution of India. We gave to ourselves this Constitution that with the pledge that we will be governed by it, we will revere it, and we will till be the cornerstone of our governance. So that is why we Indians very proudly celebrate the Constitution Day, 26th of November every year, to inculcate the spirit of constitutionalism, to inculcate the spirit of governance, the respect for self-governance with sovereignty and with full honor for humanity, full honor for inclusivism, full honor for what we call constitutionalism. So, in line with the uh, in line with the spirit of the nation, we go ahead to celebrate this day today by way of organizing a webinar on the theme, the spirit of constitutionalism. And we are very fortunate to have with us Professor Vinod Mishra, who also is an eminent advocate of the Odisha High Court. He has experience of both the world of theory as well as the world of praxis. He has taught in many universities in the country as a professor of political science. He is an expert not only on the Indian Constitution, but also he has he has wisdom over many constitutions across the globe. So now he is a practicing advocate in the Odisha High Court. So it's a very privilege to have you, sir, with us today on this great occasion. And I welcome you, Professor Vinod Mishra, sir, to this webinar. It's really a proud privilege for us to have you with us. And we thank you from the deep corner of our heart that despite your hectic schedule, you have agreed to come with us to share your wisdom that you have gained across the years. So welcome you once again, sir. I welcome my colleagues at the regional center, colleagues from the other regional centers, different divisions of the university, different faculties of the university, and other participants. It's my privilege to welcome my learners to this great occasion. It's a matter of pleasure for all of us that our learners have gathered in very large numbers to celebrate this day today with us, and also to be participants in the co-learning process. That is the spirit of constitutionalism. I heartily welcome you, all my learners. So with this now, it's time to uh, know our guest today. I request my colleague Dr. Prabhat Kumar Jena to kindly give a brief introduction of Professor Binu Mishra sir. Prabhat sir, please.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon to everybody. Esteemed Regional Editor in charge, Dr. S.K. Panigrahi, respected Bimal sir, Deputy Director, respected resource person, Professor Patra sir, respected Professor Binod Kumar Mishra sir, respected other dignitaries, my dear colleagues, friends, and dear learners. So, in this auspicious occasion, I welcome you all to this webinar. First of all, I would like to thank our research person for accepting our invitation, and despite of his busy schedule, he is ready to deliver a talk about the today's topic. So, we are very much thankful to him. And as a brief profile, let me say something briefly about him. Dr. Binod Kumar Mishra, he has completed MA, MPhil and PhD, and he has also done LLB. Now, he is practicing as an advocate in the High Court of Odisha, Cuttack. Formerly, he was the director of CSIRD, Kolkata, and he is also alumnus of JNU, Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi, and he is also a renowned television commentator in Odisha. He has written extensively in his scholarly peer-reviewed publications on the above issues and has been invited by media and television channels in Odisha to participate as an expert panelist in the prime time of news discussions. So he has very much experience on the international studies, and he's a very good speaker, and he has very good experience on international relations in theory and practice, and he's a very good scholar from JNU. As the director of Center of Studies in International Relations and Development, Kolkata, he is known for his pioneering initiatives in areas of BIMS, Tech, Kolkata, to cunning to Forum and India's Look East policy. He has been associated with the academic world all along, and he has been a part of study in US Institute of Exchange in program visiting leading institutes such as Princeton, Valley, and other places also. He has also been a frequent visitor to Asian countries like Vietnam, Myanmar, Indonesia, Afghanistan, China, etc. So we are very much thankful to him, and we are very much eager to listen to him. So I don't want to take much time. So with us, audience are ready now to listen to him. So I once again welcome you, sir, and we are very much thankful to him. We once again welcome you to this meeting, sir. Over to you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Prabhat sir. May I now request Professor Binod Mishra sir to kindly deliver his deliveration.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Good evening, everybody. I think Professor Uma Kanjilal couldn't make it. Her name figures there. However, respected Professor S.K. Tripathi, Professor Jana, Dr. Santosh, good evening, everybody, all the students, all the regional center heads, everybody who is online today. First of all, let me apologize for the slight inconvenience. My name is showing as Sadanand Bag because I'm using his system, because my system the sound system didn't work. So kindly bear with me. That name is not mine. So that is my system's name. Yes. So it is really a pleasure to speak at IGNOU. This is not my first occasion to speak at IGNOU. I have had many occasions to speak in IGNO, take classes for IGNO while I was there in Calcutta. So my association with IGNO is long. During early 2000, 2002, 3, 4, those are the years I used to actively teach in IGNO centers in Calcutta. So when I got an opportunity to speak to students in IGNO, I couldn't say no. And the person who asked me to give this lecture, I could never say no to him. That is my younger brother, Santosh, who is the deputy regional director. So on his request, and to kind of rekindle my association with IGNO, I accepted this honor uh, to share my thoughts on this particular day, which is very, very crucial to me in my analysis, particularly in the present day context, when we see little confusion regarding various things that the constitution stands for. So this is a nice occasion, in fact, an apt or fitting occasion to remind ourselves what this constitution is all about and why is it so important and that we are observing. It has a special day. What significance does it hold for us? To start with, let me start off with a kind of sharing my own anxiety, related to the constitution of ours, that is Indian Constitution. On 6th June, I was kind of, you can say, a relieved person. Uh, I think those who are not speaking can keep their mics mute because a lot of noise is coming. Yeah. Thank you. So on 6th June, I was a relieved person in this country because we chose a government which we are the results of our election, national election. The reason for relief was that किसी को 400 नहीं मिला. Nobody got 400. Why was that 400 very important? I think the center's mic is still on. Can we put that mic on mute? Please, so किसी को 400 नहीं मिला. That was a solace. Why was it solace? The section of Indian electorate were looking at this magical number, and for a particular reason. What was that particular reason? That they were calling for changing this constitution. There was a call that if the ruling party gets 400 applause, then there is a chance that the constitution will be changed. So that was my anxiety, that what would happen if the constitution changes. Well, constitution changing of constitution is not entirely a new phenomenon or unprecedented phenomenon. Constitutions all over the world have changed. Countries have changed their constitution. But what is so important about having a constitution, and why one needs to worry, or why should one worry about its sudden change? What is so important about it? As Professor Tripathi was introducing about the importance of the constitution, he said that it is our drafted code of conduct. It is the way that we have placed ourselves, that we will conduct ourselves. So that from that, the entire importance of the constitution can be well visualized, that it is the self-imposed conditions, the self-imposed principles that we place to adhere to in governing ourselves. So why do we need a body of constitution or a document called constitution to guide ourselves? Is it so that constitutions had been always part of the political life? No, because constitution as a written document is of a very, very recent origin. That recent origin, can be at best, traced back to the creation of American Constitution on 1789. That doesn't mean that there was no constitution prior to that. So what was it that was there? And from time immemorial, during the Sodasa Janapada time of Indian society or the ancient Greek society, there were states and they were governed by some kinds of laws. There were no constitution. So what was it that governed those states then? Or what is it that governs those states where there is no formal constitution? Even in modern days, the country whom we call the mother of, or the constitution whom we call the mother of all constitutions, that is the constitution of Great Britain, is actually a non-written one. There is no written constitution in Great Britain. So what do we mean actually when we say that there is a constitution, a country is a constitution? Because it is unthinkable in today, in modern day world, to think of a country, think of a country, and in particular, a country which claims to be a democratic country, not having a constitution. Whether written or unwritten, there will be a constitution. So what is it actually that we are very fussy about, we are possessive about, and what is it that is so sacrosanct about this constitution? It's not those letters that are written in the constitution that are very important. What the force behind this constitution is much more important than the constitution. The constitution is just a reflection of that particular force, and that particular force I am calling is the force of constitutionalism, a spirit of constitutionalism that was there from a particular given time and through all the constitutions that are created in the world, whether written or unwritten. That means a spirit of constitutionalism is there, which is reflected in the constitution, either in its written form or unwritten form. And that spirit of constitutionalism is the power behind the constitution. And that spirit of constitutionalism is actually the guiding force that Professor Tripathi was saying, that we gave ourselves, or we place that we will be governed by that set of, that code of conducts. That code of conducts, as I am trying to explain, is not just in those constitutions, but behind the constitution, there is something which is called the spirit of constitutionalism. Now, where did this constitutionalism begin from? If it is not with the constitution, and as we have now argued, that it did exist in times prior to 1789, prior to the formal existence of the first written constitution. If it was there since ancient Greek times, or it was there in the medieval times, so where did it actually, how did it actually evolve, and what it is, and where it is now, and in what form it is now? That's what I would discuss in a nutshell. Santosh, I think I have 30 minutes to 40 minutes. How much time do I have?
Yes, you can take 40 minutes.
Okay. So if you start thinking about this concept of constitutionalism, it is related to something called the state. And state, if I go one step before state, it is related to a community life. The moment we conceptualize a community life, we need principles to govern ourselves. So long as we are not in a community life, we don't bother about it. But the moment we constitute a community life, then we need certain principles or certain rules to govern us. Because I don't want to bore the students with political theory that what was it before the state was there. But just for an imagination, just imagine a condition where there is no state. So what would be life in that? Life would be, as Thomas Hobbes says, nasty, brutus, poor, solitary, and short. Everybody would be after the life of everybody, and there will be general insecurity in the society. Nobody would feel secured, to do business, to do anything, to pursue any of his interests. So that would be the condition if we have life, and we have life of human beings, but not regulated by something. And that regulation power, or that regulating authority in general, we call the state. So the evolution of the state is the beginning of constitutionalism. But at the time when the concept of state came in, along with it, the concept of legitimacy came in, the concept of source of rules came in, which would govern us. It initially, in its initial stages of formation, there was a divine concept of state. That state is the march of God on earth, and state's representative, that is the king. King used to be considered all sources of law. So the liberties, the rights, whatever, the protection of individuals, if the life of individuals used to be governed by the wishes of the king, who used to grant whatever liberty he pleases. So because he was considered to be the embodiment of God, or he was considered to be the representative of God, and his legitimacy came straight down from the God. So that used to be the form of constitutionalism at those times, that the constitutionalism that ran in the society approved God's legitimacy to govern human beings. So kings ruled by the authority of God, not accountable to human beings, and they were not answerable to human beings. But all this changed, once the king ceased to be the only source of law. And when did that happen? Historically, if you ask me to trace it, I would trace it to the signing of the charter called Magna Carta in 1215 in United Kingdom. For the first time, the king was forced to sign a charter, that is charter of Magna Carta, or a charter of right of freedom, a charter of freedom. So for the first time, it was established that the king doesn't have any heavenly authority to rule. It has to rule on the mandate, on the authority given by the people, and it has to work for a particular purpose. That means the king's powers were limited by the purpose it has to fulfill. That means there was a conditionality to the legitimacy of the king. Legitimacy of the king means legitimacy. So this is, in my mind, the first visible impact of constitutionalism, or the spirit of constitutionalism, in the evolution of the state system, in the evolution of the governance system, in the evolution of community life. Constitutionalism has its first impact in the form of signing of Charter of Magna Carta, which replaced king from this godly position and brought him to a position where he was made accountable to a purpose. And what was that purpose? That purpose was to ensure the freedom, ensure the rights of individuals. So, as you can imagine now, the first effect of constitutionalism, or the spirit of constitutionalism, which is working behind the constitution, which works as a constitution, whether there is a constitution written or not, is in a negative character. Why I call it a negative character? That the first form of constitutionalism was that it wanted to limit the powers of the state. It wanted to put a cap on the power of the state, that the state cannot do anything that would harm the interest of the individual, that would harm the interest of its citizens. So that was the first manifestation of the spirit of constitutionalism, which took the authority of God away and put the king under the authority of the popular sovereignty or the popular wish. And the first impact it had was a negative impact in the form of restricting the state in its activity and drawing red lines which the state cannot cross. So this is the first form of constitutionalism that we notice in the evolution of governance system, or in the evolution of creating constitution. But as we say that the spirit of constitutionalism is not is something more than the constitution, and it is a reflection. It is a reflection of what can we say? The voice of the society. In a way, you can say it is the body ethic of the society. That is what is actually the spirit of constitutionalism. So, if we define constitutionalism as a body ethic of a society, which defines all other rules, all other regulations, the roles of each agency that is to operate within the governance system. If this body ethic is to regulate, this body ethic cannot be very, very limited, only to cap, the activity of the state, only to put a limitation on the power of the state. That cannot be, the impact of such a massive concept, that it is ethic, is the entire ethic of the society, and it only works towards limiting the power of the state. No, it is much more than that. And in course of evolution, it assumed much more significance as we progress, as we come towards the modern days. So what is the first change that occurred? The first change that occurred to this concept of constitutionalism is that from negative constitutionalism, there was a directional change towards positive constitutionalism. What is this positive constitutionalism? As I said, during under this concept of negative constitutionalism, that it is only that we wish to put a cap on the state's authority, state's ability to, state's, power, or state's freedom to exercise power. We want to put restrictions on states, exercise of power. But in positive constitutionalism, we wanted the state to do certain things for us, It's not just, negative that you do not do anything. You don't do certain things. Now it is a kind of directions that are given to the state to do certain things. Why should the state do certain things? What are those directions? Those directions, as I said, it is reflection of body ethics, or the ethics of the society, the combined ethics of the society. It embedded within it, that body ethic embedded within it, is a sense of self-creation, a sense of self-identification, a sense of self-projection. These three things, keeps on changing, and its demands keep on changing. So in order to meet the requirements of these self-identification, self-creation, self-projection, we need the state to be very responsive, the state to be proactive in promoting these aspirations. We as a nation, we as a country, we as a society, the way we see ourselves, the way we create ourselves, the way we project ourselves requires that the state supports our aspirations. We fulfill certain aspirations, our common, the aspirations that we hold in common, and such directions are called positive directions given again by constitutionalism, which might be there or might not be there. And we have seen a continuous attempt of the constitutions to adapt to these kind of changes in constitutionalism. And I will give you examples from Indian constitution. I said, and all these negative and positive forms of constitutionalism, we can find in all constitutions in various forms. Looking at Indian constitution, I said that the first form of constitutionalism, that is negative constitutionalism, which put a cap on state, or we put a kind of, you can say, negative injunction on the state, that it refrained the state from carrying out certain things. That is visible under the chapter called Fundamental Rights. If we look at the Fundamental Rights chapter of Indian Constitution, it's a very, very interesting chapter. I'm calling it as a Fundamental Rights chapter, but it's a very negative chapter. If you look at this particular chapter, you will find all the sentences in this are negatively drafted. And these are negative injunctions towards the state. How are it drafted? If you could read one or two, lines from the Fundamental Rights, you would see that how their negative, constitutionalism is at work. Let us read any right under the section of fundamental rights. You'll find that the state is prohibited. The state is prohibited from discriminating on the ground of caste, creed, race, religion, gender. So it is a negative injunction that the state cannot discriminate. So discrimination is prohibited. I'm reading Article 14. The state shall not deny to any person equality before law. So this is a negative injunction to the state. The state shall not deny. So a fundamental right of the person is being enforced by a negative injunction on the state. So that is what is negative constitutionalism, or an example of negative constitutionalism. But when I say positive constitutionalism, it reflects the aspirations of India. It reflects the aspirations of the people of India, which we find in the direction that are given in the directive principles of state policy. That we want to have universal education. We want to promote this. We want to promote those positive directions that are there in directive principles are reflections of the aspirations of the Indian body politic or Indian body ethic. And at times, when we find that certain ethics of the Indian body politic needs a reflection in the constitution in order to remind our rulers, in order to remind our governors that this is a body politic that needs to be jealously guarded, we do certain incorporations in our Indian constitution. And very fundamental being, and those are historically conditions. what kind of interpolations we'll do, how would we, change our constitution according to the spirit of constitutionalism, according to the spirit of constitutionalism as it is prevalent in a particular period in time. It depends on the historical memories and the present day context. I will tell about two very important changes that were brought into the Indian constitution, and with a little background to that. Everybody knows that our constitution, while it was written, the preamble didn't have the two words that are very contested nowadays. That is the socialist and secular word. The term secular and socialism didn't find place in the initial draft of the preamble of Indian constitution. But in the year 1976, these two words were added to the Indian preamble of Indian constitution. What was the context? If you see, the context is that the way Indian nation came into being. I am a little worried in using this very value-loaded concept nation, which I am going to criticize in a bit of time. But in any case, when we set out to build our independent country as India, we had a very bitter experience of a communal partition, resulting in 1 million deaths and 30 million displacement. So we are worried about this communal tensions or the communal fissures that existed in this cultural landscape of India. So therefore, in order to remind ourselves all the times that we need to, our constitutionalism demands that we need to accommodate everybody that are existing in every form, in every form of their primordial identity. We need to accommodate them. So as a reminder, we put in the word secularism in our preamble. And socialism, if you remember, the emergency period, which was Mrs. Gandhi's time when Indian democracy was taken for a ride, and Mrs. Gandhi, for some reason or other, thought it fit that Indian democracy should be suspended and India's constitution should be suspended, and declared emergency. But during that time, she brought in this particular secularism amendment and also the word socialism. Why socialism was included? Because it was doubted under Mrs. Gandhi that probably India is moving away from its socialistic agenda. The freedom, the socialistic movement that defined even the Gandhian movement, other leaders' movement, all were socialistic in character. So the moment it was seen that probably the governing elite, by its preferences, trying to move away from the principles of socialism was brought in as a reminder to Indian constitution. So in the constitutions of the time, incorporate the vibrant, changes or the vibrant spirit that operates in the society in the form of constitutionalism. So that's how, from negative constitutionalism, we migrated or we kind of changed towards something we call positive constitutionalism. Now, that's not the end. Constitutionalism doesn't stop there. It doesn't stop, just by giving some directions. As I said, it being a very vibrant paradigm in the sense through which we create ourselves or we identify ourselves, we project ourselves. That being a paradigm, it is at constant flux and it keeps on changing. It keeps on changing and keeps on generating new demands, generating new, requirements that the state or the governance system is bound to or is duty bound to respond. Now, in this process, what happens? It demands changes in the constitution. It demands, the way governing elites operate, the way, the governing elite thinks of governance. Everything is regulated by the constitutionalism that operates at a particular time. And here is the very nuanced concept that needs to be carefully understood. That in this propensity or in this attempt to keep your constitution contemporaneous with the spirit of constitutionalism, you need to make certain changes. Now, those changes need to be made very, very carefully, because unless it is made very carefully, it will create, disaster for societies. It will create something which would be a regressive constitutionalism, or which will take your constitution down. It will debase your constitution. what happens then? I mean, how does it happen? What are the risks? How it what are the risks that that runs with it? What are the warnings that we should be aware of? We should be aware of a situation where the narrative or the narrative which claims to be constitutionalism, because constitutionalism, as we talk, as we define, that it is the spirit of the society.
Hello. Hello, sir.
Hello.
Yes,
Yes.
what is the topic about the webinar?
Yes, Santosh, could you please enlighten? We're talking about constitution, spirit of constitutionalism.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yes, we're talking about what is the spirit of constitutionalism that works behind the constitution, and how constitutions, keep on adapting to the spirit of constitutionalism that operates in the society and keeps on generating new demands, warranting constitutional changes, warranting adoptions in the constitution. And during this process, if there is little problem, if there is enough care is not taken, then what we say, or what we can say, it leads to a different form of constitutionalism, which a professor has called Professor Frankenberg calls an authoritarian constitutionalism. Now, why I'm interested in talking about this authoritarian constitutionalism? Authoritarian constitutionalism is a kind of constitutionalism which actually looks like constitutionalism, but is a manipulated constitutionalism, which makes you believe that certain values, certain symbols that are thrown in, that are actually, those are the expressions of the body politic, or those are the expressions of the society. But in fact, they are not suitable to the particular society within which it is operating. I will give you one example, and with that we will end. Look at the particular attempt that is being made right now. The attempt, in ourself, in the process of self-creation, self-identification, self-projection. What are we doing? What narratives are we using to create that image of ourselves, to create that identity of ourselves, to create that projection of ourselves? If you look at it, at the basis of it, there is an attempt to create a nation out of Indian state. This concept of nation, as I was saying a few minutes ago, is a very heavily loaded concept. But the constitutionalism of the present day is being made to look as if India is now getting ready to create a nation out of this Indian state. Now, what kind of nation are you trying to prepare? That question I leave it for all this audience to decide. What kind of nation are we trying now to prepare? I would just warn you, if we go down this path of creating a nation and creating a constitutionalism, that demands that India should become a nation, then what kind of fallouts, what kind of dangers that we might fall into? With those things, I will stop. This concept of nation is a problematic concept in two societies, that is as diverse as that of ours. In Indian society, the concept of nation as formulated, for the European small societies, if that is being imported, and now we are trying to create a nation, a particular nation. I will not define what kind of nation we are trying to create, but what would happen? As a prerequisite of creating a nation, you need a homogeneous identity, a single identity. Now you can imagine if this Indian space, if this Indian socio-political space, if you are trying to create a nation on a particular identity, what identity would that be? Would that be a reflection? Would that be a clear reflection, exact reflection of the Indian, the character of Indian society? Will that be a clear reflection of the diversity that exists within India? It will not. And historically, I will remind you that how this attempt to create nations out of states, what has been the result? From time immemorial, from 3rd century BC Armenia, through Holocaust to Indian partition. Anytime, anywhere in history, there has been an attempt to create a nation out of a society, out of a state. The result has been ultimate human misery, deaths and displacements. Only one example, as I gave, during the partition of India, which resulted in 1 million deaths, 30 million displacements. Now, what happened as a result of that particular process of nation creation? Forget about India. India remained slightly, on the secular side. The so-called single identity nation that emerged out of this nation building process, showing that it is their demand of their nation that they should have a homogeneous nation. The so-called single identity nation built on Islamic identity, Islamic religious identity, within 25 years was challenged by another nationalistic movement. And this time the nationalism was based on language. That is Bangladesh. And this single identity nation based on single identity, religious identity, broke down under the challenge of another form of nationalism, that is linguistic nationalism. So my humble request is that when we are trying to create nation and we are building all kinds of narratives to build a particular kind of nation and are demanding the constitution to adapt to those kind of narratives, and in order to adapt to those kind of narratives, we need so much compromise that we are talking about changing this constitution, which to my mind is not in the right direction, which is not the right reflection of the spirit of Indian constitutionalism, which for 1,000 years have been accommodative, has been welcoming, has been inclusive, and that is what has been the base of Indian nation, and which has been very well reflected in the Indian constitution, be it fundamental rights, be it directive principles of state policy, or be it the federal features, or be it the 5th schedule and 6th schedule, which talks about protective discrimination and features that accommodates the aspirations of the minorities within or alongside the aspirations of the major communities of this Indian socio-political space. But now, if an attempt is made to change all these features of Indian constitution and create a constitution that would promote the idea of a nation based on any particular identity, that would be like missing the spirit of constitutionalism, missing the spirit of Indian constitutionalism. So what I would request to all of you today is to protect those special features of the Indian constitution that makes this constitution actually reflective of the Indian socio-political spaces body ethic, which is inclusiveness, which is secularism, which is accommodative, and which is promoting brotherliness or promoting fraternity. That's what we promise to give ourselves in this constitution. Thank you all.
Thank you, Professor Mishra. It was really a very panoptic discussion and very rich insights we got from your discussion, and we are really grateful to you. So may I now invite our participants for discussion. The floor is open for discussion, but we have certain floor rules. That is, first, please introduce yourself. Please tell your name. Then please be very brief in your question or whatever point you are keeping. Then whenever somebody else is talking, we will not talk. So these are the floor rules. And with this, first I will, okay, we'll go one by one. But the prime rule is that when somebody is asking, others will not interfere. So now the house is open for discussion. Thank you. Anybody who wants to put his point, put her point, or any query?
There are some hands raised. You can choose one and ask him or her to put the question. Yes, Rasmita, go ahead.
Durga Prasad?
I think Rasmita can speak. Okay, you can speak. Unmute yourself, please. There are so many hands, but Santosh, why don't you coordinate?
Perhaps they are.
Color flip caption with.
Hello, good evening, sir.
Good evening.
So my name is Surekha Dorai from Jajpur.
Hmm.
Sir, I want to difference between social system and political system. What is the major difference?
Okay. Yes, let's gather a few questions, then we'll go. It will be better.
Sorry, sir, can you?
I said let's gather a few more questions. Yes.
Control E, your microphone.
Yes.
Anybody else interested? It seems there is no other queries, or we can go ahead with this.
No, but we can see very many hands. There are Shivani, Dipanjali, Niharika Sahu.
Sir, I think they have raised.
I think they have raised the hand like this. I think they don't have any question.
Okay. The teachers and others. Well, see, this is a basic question. What is the difference between social and political system? Political system is the system that is representing the social system. You know, you take it like the Indian society is the social system. The political system is the electorate. You know, that is not the entirety of the social system. That's a very basic definition I gave, that the political system is the electorate and the electoral, all those that participate in this electoral process. That is your political system. The social system is the entire society, which has many things which are not purely politics, which has your personal laws, your beliefs, your values, your religious values, your ethnic values, your tribal values. All those are part, but they are not political system. The political system is a representative of the social system, particularly tasked with the task of, in my opinion, allocating values. How values will be allocated in the society, who will get what, how to redistribute the resources. The regulatory body, we can say, is the political system. It is the political system that determines who gets what, or who pays what, or who gets what punishment, who gets what reward. So it is the regulatory body, it is the regulatory system that regulates, in a way, the social system, and it also represents the social system. So it is both the representative and, in a way, it manages the social system. In size, you can say social system is much bigger, political system is a subset of the social system, but being endowed with that particular role, it has the ability to change certain norms, certain rules for the social system even. So that's how the political system is important. And often it is said that the line is missed. It is said at times that the government is mistaken with the state, or the political system is mistaken with the society. So that line needs to be little delineated, that political system is the system that is responsible for allocation of values, and it represents the social system.
Thank you, sir.
Anybody else?
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Myself, Shivani Dipanjali from Nayagarh. My question is, what type of structure does the Indian Constitution have?
What kind of structure?
What type of structure does the Indian Constitution have?
Yes. Okay. We have a very interesting, unique structure. We say that the Indian Constitution is a unitary talks about a unitary structure with federal features. So that's what one kind of definition of structure of Indian Constitution, that it talks of India as a unitary structure with federal features. So that's what we would say, that Indian Constitution is an unitary constitution. It doesn't allow the existence of any other constitution of the state as it is there in the United States. So our constitution structure is unitary, but having sufficient federal features. So that's why we cannot say it's purely unitary. We always have to say, whenever a question is posed that what is the structure of Indian Constitution, you have to say it's a unitary structure with federal features.
Shivani, you got your response?
Hi sir, my name is Rudranarayan. I'm from Kendrapada,
Yes.
and my question is how to approach or deal with people now, particularly nowadays, who condemn the particular idea of secularism that is mentioned in our constitution. What is your general approach to these kind of people?
See, let's not target the people as such. Let's target that particular idea. Those narratives that are being floated, that are being allowed to float to debase India's secular character, or to kind of eliminate the secular feature of Indian society, to my mind, can be only countered by very positive narratives in favor of secularism. In favor of secularism, in terms of its requirement for the cohesiveness of Indian society. Only that is the only effective way of countering it. The moment you bring it to a people-to-people level, you rather encourage more animosity, than resolving the problem. So my prescription would be that the true spirit of constitutionalism should be active in countering these false narratives, or countering these dysfunctional character narratives, which are not suitable to a pluralistic society like that of India.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Anybody else? So I think it was a very fruitful discussion, and sir, we are very thankful to you. It was a really insightful session. You not only delivered the talk, but also you interacted with our participants, and you clarified their doubts, and you also gave them the chance to put their viewpoint. So we are really thankful to you. Now it's time to offer our formal vote of thanks to our resource person, to all the participants. And for this honor, I request my colleague, Dr. Santosh Kumar Panigrahi, who is also the regional director in charge these days, to kindly offer the formal vote of thanks. Santosh sir.
Thank you, Vimal sir. Really, it's a great privilege for me to extend a vote of thanks to Professor Vinod Kumar Mishra. No doubt, he is a resource person today, he is a speaker today. In true sense, he is our big brother. When we were studying in JNU, he always in the front line in all the ways, in the positive, negative, everything. So I really extend my heartfelt thanks to Vinod Bhai, because very short notice we decided to have a talk, and no doubt he is very busy. So out of that busy schedule, he accepted our invitation. And one wonder things I can tell you, learners, I know he's a good academician, he's a good human being, but I don't know the other part, he's a good advocate also, because he left the academic part. No doubt he's indulged in academic now also, but full-fledged professional academic part he left, and now he joined as one of the best advocate in High Court. So it's a really nice to all of us, because he's practicing in High Court nowadays, and he is a good orator. You have already feel on that, because nowadays he's coming as expert in different medias. He's a international expert. So whatever I saw most of the time, he's coming and talking in the media. So he's a the big orator. So thank you very much, Vinod sir, for accepting our invitation. Because whenever now you feels, I mean, you'll just invite you to give a different kind of lecture in our universities. So on behalf of Indira Gandhi National Open University, on behalf of my vice chancellors, I extend my heartfelt thanks to you, sir. And my dear colleagues, my all the colleagues, whenever you need, whenever you feel, whenever you want, and whenever you decided to do any kind of programs, my all the colleagues is behind me. They always support to me. So I extend my all heartful thanks to my all the colleagues. But last but not least, my dear learners, without you, this program cannot success. And I really today I am very happy because our students are interacting, because this is a very good thing, because if it's one way it's not looks good, because our students are taking participant in very actively. So thank you very much to all of you. Thank you very much to
That's why I finished little early to give time to interaction. So that's and I don't know what kind of what level of students were there. So it was a generally giving a kind of synoptic opinion about what this concept of constitutionalism is. So occasion or opportunity allows, we can have bigger discussions or detailed discussions on this. Okay, thank you for inviting me. It was a pleasure talking to you. Thanks for the patience and listening.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
So may I now request our regional lecturer, Dr. Santosh Pangre sir, to declare the program is closed.
Program is closed today. Thank you.
Escape. Main menu button collapsed. Control D, edit bookmark, name Google Chrome help folder to get your Alt F4, me dash constant.